Hey guys, what's up? I get a lot of questions from my athletes about how to pick their training shoes that they're in. So I kind of want to go over that and what I kind of suggest for my athletes. For those that don't know me, my name's Fallon Headings. I'm a track and field performance coach. What we're going to go over today is 6 different things to think about when you're picking your training shoes. So a lot of times I've heard so many people say, oh, if you pronate, you need a shoe for pronation. If you supinate, you need a shoe for supination. If you have a very skinny feet, you need a narrow shoe, blah, blah, blah. So there's a lot of different thoughts out there. Same thing with high arch and flat feet too. But really, the number one most important thing when you're picking your training shoe is making sure the shoe is comfortable when you put it on. If it's not comfortable when you put it on, my guess is when you go out to do your training program, whether it's sprints, whether it's long distance, it's not going to be comfortable still. So make sure your shoe is comfortable when you try it on. But my 6 tips. So my first tip is try your shoes on later in the day. Trying your shoes on in the morning, your feet aren't really at its biggest, your feet kind of spread out and splay out during the day. So trying shoes on later in the day will make sure the shoe isn't too snug for you. Because if you try shoes on earlier in the day, sometimes if you go to run later in the day, your foot actually gets a little bit bigger, and that can cause some rubbing in places that you don't want. So that's the first tip. The second tip is wear socks that you train in. So many times do I see kids go to the running store with no socks at all if it's summertime, or they try on those little thin socks that are at the store, the nylons and stuff. That's not what you run in. So, and it's too thin of a sock. Depending on you, you might wear a thinner sock, you might wear a really thick sock. So make sure you have the sock that you train in or you compete in. The next thing is when you go to fit the shoe, don't fit the shoe to your big toe. Fit it to your longest toe. I know so many people out there have their second toe is actually their longest toe. That's my longest toe. So if you fit the shoe to my big toe, it's not going to fit, and my second toe is really going to be uncomfortable. It's going to have to kind of bend up and get stuck in this position so it can fit in the shoe. So that's another really big key, is making sure you fit the shoe to the longest toe, not your big toe. The next one is feel the material. So I have 3 different running shoes here. 2 I run in, 1 is just kind of a shoe I wear on the street. So when you go to get a shoe, like go look at it, feel the inside, like make sure there's not a spot where you're like, ooh, that might rub on my foot like really weird, or there's like kind of a really big catch in the material around the area. So the only spot in this shoe is kind of right on this edge. It's right here on the inside. The material goes from a thicker area to a thinner area, but it feels pretty smooth, and I've never had any problems running in this shoe. The other place that you really want to look at is in the toe box, is making sure this area right in here, if it comes down thicker through here, a lot of times that can rub on the toes right through there. So another thing to look at with the shoe is how many eye holes there are. So this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Usually a normal amount is about 6 to 8. So here's my current running shoes that I use. Again, if you feel the inside of these are the softest shoes that I've ever had. They're the lightest shoes that I've ever had, but the material feels so smooth on the inside, and I've never had a problem with it rubbing on my foot in a weird way. Same thing, the toe box doesn't have that area that could rub on my toes, and then it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 eye holes again. This one up here has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 eye holes. So it's it won't actually tighten around your foot as much as the other two would. And then again, this material feels fine in here. It's nice and soft, but always make sure if you have a bony area on your foot that sticks out, that could really kind of rub a weird way. The next thing what I say is do a flick test. So, and this will kind of give you a understanding of how heavy the shoes are compared to each other. So this shoe, if you flick just the toe of it and then see how it lands. So it wobbled a little bit, but it came down pretty solid. This one, if you flick it, it comes down and it sits right there. And it's funny because I always think about Nike Freeze being a nice, like, light shoe, but this is actually the heaviest of these 3 shoes here. And then these Sauconys, if I flick it, it definitely it comes down. It's the lightest of these shoes compared to, so this is kind of a middle of the road. This is the lightest, and then this is the heaviest. So, and that's how you can look at kind of the flick test, is if you flick the front of it, it'll shake and wobble a little bit more the lighter the shoe is. The other test that I like to do is the twist test. So if you take the shoe and you twist it up in the toe box, it should twist because your foot needs to have a little bit more mobility than most. All these shoes, this one has a lot more twist and give to it, but it's the heaviest shoe. So it's interesting to kind of think that actually this foam is a lot heavier than the foam that's in these Sauconys. And then this one doesn't have, like, this one's really hard to twist compared to the other ones. And I moved out of these running shoes into these Sauconys about in the summer, and I've noticed such a better feel to my foot in these because my foot likes a little bit more movement and likes the ability to move. So, and again, these are kind of just thoughts that you're going to have to think about when you're picking your running shoe. I know so many people pick just off of the color. Please don't. Please make sure it's going to fit to you and feel the best on your foot. But that number one thing is making sure the shoe feels good on your foot so you can have your best training session. All right, so thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please subscribe to my page and comment if you have any questions. See ya.